Deep in the ocean, an orca pod is on the hunt. But these aren't your average orcas. These guys are organized.
Marketing team, did you get those social media posts scheduled for the SEAL migration?
Aye, Captain. We even have an automated notification for all pod managers when they go live.
They use Monday.com to keep their teamwork sharp, their communication clear, and their goals in sight. Monday.com. For whatever you run, even orcas. Go to Monday.com to dive deeper.
Well, I don't see the point in waiting any longer, so let's bring her out. The star attraction, the one you came to see. Ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only, Miss Judy Gold.
Managers today are just field phone calls, basically. I mean,
agents, managers.
Managers. I mean, it's not the idea of a manager who's going to manage things, who's going to be you when you can't be there, or and take you around, and is that what it was like then? Because it's not like that anymore. I mean, they really were like, you're going to be a star, and they made it. They facilitated.
Well, that's how management came into being.
Right.
It used to be an agent, and many famous people, like Abe Burrows, for example.
Right.
He had one agent at the William Morris Agency for 40 years.
Right.
Tennessee Williams had an agent who was devoted only to him.
Right.
A lot of movie stars had agents. But especially if you did many things, like I did, variety. I mean, I was, a comedian. I was in movies, Broadway. A manager. Nothing happened till I got a manager. Rodney was right.
Right.
So the extra 15% I paid the manager was worth it. Why the agency was objecting? They said, "Don't do anything till you talk to us. What do you want?" It only helps them. They still get their 10%.
They're so proprietary.
And then they offered me a 5-show exclusive deal on the Merv Griffin show.
Wow.
And then Charlie and Jack Rollins sat me outside in his booth.
Yeah.
In the Improv and said, "Look, lad." He used to say, Jack Rollins sounded like this. "Hello, lad. Hello, Woody. Cavett, let me ask you this." He talked like that. So he said, "Look, it's your decision, but if I were you, I would definitely postpone this Merv Griffin thing. Let's wait for the Tonight Show. It's the biggest. We've already told them about you." Rudy Tejas was the producer.
See, they don't do that. They don't do that anymore.
Well, he did. He was one.
They're not thoughtful.
Jack was the greatest with comedians starting out, or the placement of people. Like Cavett was never a true stand-up, but they found the perfect niche for him.
Right.
He was out there in Nebraska last week, by the way, too, and he's from Nebraska. And also Letterman. It was genius because he's a personality.
But it wasn't stand-up comedy at that time. Wasn't the feeding pool it is now?
Oh, no way.
I mean, you really had to want to be a stand-up comic. And now people have said, "Oh, I can do that. I can write 12 minutes about my life and then get a show." It wasn't. I mean, how did it develop? I mean, you're doing this, and then you got the first HBO comedy special.
1975, baby.
75.
Yes, at Haverford College. Well, you have two questions there. One is very interesting. It's now an entity.
Right.
You can now say, and also in that documentary, I go to college, Harper College up there in Binghamton. There's actually a stand-up club of students interested in stand-up.
Yes, I saw that, yes.
People can now say, "I want to be a stand-up comedian. I'm going to give that a try."
Right.
It was outlandish when I started.
But I still think it's outlandish.
Well, it's an odd way.
I started on a dare when I was... I think I just turned 19,
What did you play, or were you vocal?
I played piano, and I played clarinet in the orchestra.
Do you still play?
I do, but I haven't stopped. Like, I did Shakespeare in the Park last summer, and I played clarinet in that.
Really?
Yeah, but I haven't played in years, and I picked it up the other day. I'm like, I love this.
Mm-hmm.
I miss this.
It's therapy for you too.
Yeah. But when you had like these managers and these agents, it's like now they go to a comedy club to get actors and whatever. You know, then it was, what was it? It was, did people, you say the same people would come to the club three times a week or something. How did it, like, did you saw the entire
Well, first of all,
boom?
no one wrote their material.
Right.
I did, and Rodney did early on.
You were the only ones that wrote your own material?
Rodney's early material.
Right.
And
But-
when he went into aluminum siding, because his
Right.
first wife wanted, let's quit the business, blah,
Right.
blah, blah. And he never wanted to, but he did. And even though and this is how smart Rodney was, you know, high school graduate, but street smarts. In 3 years, he had his own business with 50 salesmen and all
Wow.
that. But he wrote material for Joan Rivers and for Jackie Mason.
Wow.
And
But the Henny Youngmans and the Jack Bennys and the Milton Berles, they didn't go to the Improv, did they?
No.
To try stuff out?
no,
They just went to the Catskills.
they all had writers. They would rehearse. They would, you know, but you know, Rodney had jokes like, I'll tell you, our streets are unsafe, our parks are unsafe, our schools are unsafe, but under our arms we have complete protection. You know, that is worthy of Art Buchwald. I mean, that's you know, and
Right.
so. It was after he began the demand for his work when he developed. Finally, got on the Tonight Show after a
Right.
rough.
How old was he when he got on the Tonight Show?
He's 20 years older than I am. Exactly. So
And you're 20 years older than I am.
he would be
exactly.
95. So you're 50.
I'm 54.
So I was.
And I'm 20 years
know.
younger than you are.
Shut the fuck up.
What was I? What was I in 1966, 67, 68? The point is, he was on Merv Griffin before he was on the Tonight Show.
Right.
And he saw one of his jokes
So
in
he
his
was
monologue.
44, yeah.
He wrote a letter, an angry letter to Carson, and Carson read it.
On the air?
Yeah, like humiliating. And no wonder they call you John. You know, I mean, Rodney
Right.
it was amazing that they ever got on, and
Right.
then he became one of his biggest fans. You know.
So you
None
did...
of those old style comedians. First of all, they all went to West Coast. I don't know how they did their stuff. Borscht Belt or whatever.
Yeah, like I feel like I need to get on stage several times a week just to keep writing new material and keep the muscle up, and I love it, and I love it. I think I personally need to do it to keep my head straight.
Oh, you're a
But-
bitch when you don't get on stage.
Shut up. But I don't. It wasn't like that. It was like you could go a month with that, right? And you just where you would just.
You know what I would do? In those days, I didn't go a month. I was so busy that I could practice on the job.
Right.
I never had one. After 2 or 3 years, I wasn't a regular at the Improv anymore. In 1970, I bought a Mercedes with a stick shift, a gorgeous sedan, $6,600 new.
Right.
Parked it right in front of the Improv.
Right.
Tons of cute waitresses.
Right,
and
right.
People I would meet there.
That hasn't changed.
Yeah, well, I never had a bar. I never had
Right.
a place. I never even was interested in drinking. I
Right.
liked pot, but you couldn't
Yeah,
go
me too.
smoking pot there.
Right.
So I would have, a little Cavassier before I went on or something like that. But it became my place. I knew everyone. There were interesting people there. Like, remember Nick Arnold? You remember who had cerebral palsy? He was a writer. He was a brilliant kid. I mean, all
Right.
kinds of interesting characters. And so I waited for the Tonight Show, and then I did it January '68. And I did it about 9 times in a period of 18 months.
Wow, that's unheard
that
of.
doesn't-
Well, Brenner did it a lot too, and used to, shall we say, borrow material. I know he's dead, but
Did you wait? First of all, where were you making money? Were you going on the road? Were they sending you, Rollins and Jaffe sending you on the road to make money to buy that Mercedes?
I left the Apple Tree after 7 months and went full-time comedy until my New Faces of '68 on Broadway.
What was the road like? I mean, there weren't a
Where?
thousand million.
Where was the
yeah,
road?
where would you go?
I played first the classiest clubs that existed. The Mr. Kelly's in Chicago. I opened for Sarah Vaughan.
Wow.
Most elegant
What?
club.
God.
I
Oh
caught
my
every one of her
God.
shows for 2 weeks.
What was she
What?
like?
The only time I ever did that. She was very nice. She was quiet. And then her man came after a week. She would sit and drink and smoke at the bar afterwards. She was fantastic. Then I did the Hungry Eye in San Francisco.
Oh, that Hungry
the Troubadour
Eye, yeah.
in L.A.
Oh, yeah.
I forgot.
I've done the Troubadour.
And they pay big money for these gigs, but good enough to get the Mercedes.
But that's
at
where
least?
Phyllis Diller
No,
started.
500. I mean, I was unknown. I got 500 a week. at the Hungry Eye. I was
That's where
the opening
Phil-
act
yeah,
of
and
3. You know who
Barbara.
was the closing act? Lambert, Hendricks, and Ross. John Hendricks.
Oh,
My
yeah,
analyst
yeah.
told me,
Yeah.
boom, that happened. He weren't working alone, that jazz singer.
Right.
We didn't do much business. In fact, they asked Jack to let me. They kind of canceled us after 3 weeks instead
Right.
of 4.
Right.
But originally, really, wonderful clubs. I never played the Playboy clubs.
In
yeah.
68, the Tonight Show's here?
Yes,
New
it was
York,
here.
yeah.
For another year or so, it was still here.
9 in 18 months.
Yeah, it was
How
amazing.
long were your sets? Like 5, 6?
Yeah. You
That's so much fucking
and to
material.
tell you something else.
That's an hour.
Talk about
Yeah.
an influential manager. They were afraid. What I did, believe it or not, at the time was much different than what people were doing.
Right.
So Jack was a bit worried that maybe it won't go over. So he said, you know what? He asked them, would they please let me sit at the panel first for 2
Right.
minutes as a total unknown and then do my stand-up.
I thought
said-
that's mental.
So then I sit down
Right.
I get to
and
know
I
him.
get no laughs in a minute and a half. And Johnny goes, I understand you're going to do some stand-up for us, Robert. Well, and killed him on a substitute teacher bit. But the quarterback gave me some good advice. If this is different than having the half hour to yourself and all that.
Right.
That you must be well planned. Rodney was amazing. He had no discipline in his personal life. He abused himself with all kinds of goodies. He, ate too much. He drank too much of a lot of things. But when he had a Tonight Show, he started 2-3 months before
Right.
to prepare it. He used to write the jokes, what he called his necklace, 19 jokes or so, approximately, on a shirt cardboard from the laundry.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And he'd go to the Improv and try it out. Then when he opened his own club,
Yeah. Danger.
he would use that just to try it out. After a while, a year or two, you could hardly even see him there.
Yeah.
He used to, but he was very brave because his first wife, Joyce, who died many years ago, was incapable of taking care of children. She was
Melanie.
Melanie, who's
I love her.
going to be at my July 4th. I love her.
Oh, she's a good friend of mine. I'm glad she got invited to the July 4th picnic.
Wanna come?
No, it's fine. I'm going to be away.
having
no,
a-
it's fine.
she's
it's
having a
fine.
bad divorce.
It's
She's
I
having a bad
know.
divorce.
Terrible divorce. I'm sure she wanted us to talk about that too.
Sorry, Melanie.
But Melanie
sounds
and
like
Brian,
a fucking asshole. But
he was. You don't know they have it.
Let's not.
No, I do.
But
all right.
he saw that he couldn't go on the road because
Right.
she was an alcoholic and mental patient.
Right.
The night the club opened, she was on my arm. Bob, don't let me go. I mean, it was so sad. She was like
Right.
institutional. So he was a very brave father, but he became a lousy father, like his own parents, as time went on. So that by the time he died, and that
Ugh.
widow of his, forget it. I don't even want to get
All right.
into it.
Depressing. Okay.
Yeah.
So you get. Oh, Allie.
Wait, to hop back a second, because she was as amazed as I always am about how much material you had ready when you started
Yeah.
doing
I mean,
Carson.
that's so.
Didn't you say that you had like 6 ready?
About. Yeah, I mean, some of the stuff had to be.
30 minutes of shit.
It had
I
to
don't
be
get it.
modified though, because
Would they go around with you like now? You know how they go around with you to the club for like 2 weeks and tell you, "Oh, take and out of that joke."
Who would?
That's what they do now for comics.
Eddie used to go around with you for 2 weeks, like to do
Yeah.
Letterman. He would follow you around.
For 2 weeks. You know that joke is. You should say 4
Don't say
instead of
they would want to
Coca-Cola, say
know
Coke.
in the pre-interview what you're doing.
right.
They would want to know.
They didn't
any
micromanage
music.
it.
They had plenty of money to pay for any music
Right.
you were going to do. You knew what you could say and what you couldn't
Right.
say. Although when Spiro Agnew had to resign and pleaded
Right.
nolo contendere,
Right.
and I had a terrific routine about him.
Right.
Freddie DeCordova says, he could sue you. You probably shouldn't say that. He was a lawyer too, Freddie
Right.
DeCordova, the producer of The Tonight Show. I said, come on, he pleaded nolo contendere.
Right.
And I won one of the very few arguments I ever won. You knew what you couldn't say, And they just wanted to hear what the thing was in general. Everything was very tight-ass, really, which is sort of an irony because then, people like Judy Gold came along and, sorry, you're here. Broke all those rules.
Right.
There were 3 networks. Everything was different.
It was so different.
Somebody got the idea. His name was Harlan Kleiman. He just died, Harlan Kleiman. Is there a ringing for dead Jews? He had this idea. They had about 400,000 or 500,000 subscribers. It was called Home Box Office. It was a little part of Time Life.
Right.
They had maybe 30 employees. They had Eastern Pennsylvania, Manhattan, and Long Island.
Right.
He said, wouldn't it be something if you take a kid like Klein doing all these college concerts? He doesn't have to worry about language. He doesn't have to worry about length going on, blah, blah, blah. And it was a brilliant idea.
But what was the language like in the clubs in the 60s and 70s? I mean, did you really have to watch it?
No. I think if you went, Enrico Banducci, who owned the Hungry Eye, I don't think he would have liked it if you had a lot of profanity in there. But
what was Lenny? What was Lenny? Bruce?
Well, Lenny couldn't work. That's the thing. Lenny was crucified, almost literally. If you hear his stuff, it makes so much sense. It's not really harmful. Not every routine was great, but he couldn't work. He had no champions. Marty Garbus was his lawyer.
He
was horrible.
He couldn't come into the Improv in due time.
By the time I was there, he was gone. Done. He died in '66. My first trip to LA was '67. Rodney cursed, no doubt. People used curse words and were naughty. There was Bud Friedman wouldn't have objected, but it wasn't also people eating.
Right.
Big finger ribs there, and they used to have this waitress who, a big Zoftic girl. Some of the staff there wanted to be in show business, and she would do the Aldons of the Horse song from Man of La Mancha. She'd go into the toilet, put on a garter belt, and come out. And I would introduce you to the very lovely so-and-so. She'd put her foot up on the first row, born on a dung heap. Look at this kitchen wretch, reeking with sweat. Check, please. Check, please. Check, please. Some of the ribs were underdone. Check, please.
Get some more water over here.
Welcome to Play It, a new podcast network featuring radio and TV personalities talking business, sports, tech, entertainment, and more. Play it at play.it.
You're the first comedy. You're the fucking first
comedy special.
HBO 19. Yes, go
Before
ahead.
we get
Leonard,
there, I have a question. It's killing me. I watched this thing on 1973. Did a show called Midnight Special.
Oh yeah.
On the way or on your honeymoon. Okay, just tell me how to pull that off. So, honey, we're going on our honeymoon, but first, let me stop off in due time on this television.
Allie's mother and I were married in Atlanta, where she lived. And the very next day, we flew out to L.A. I had a guest star role on Midnight Special. Gladys Knight and the Pips were that week.
Oh, my God. I love them.
Well, you should have seen when they were being directed, there were some very confused Pips.
Right.
She was a very generous relative. If there was someone who didn't need Pips, it was Gladys Knight. The Pips, it was a generous contribution. It was like Heinz, and Dad. Dad was not necessary to Maurice and Gregory. And the next day, after the show, there's a picture on my wall. You know the picture of all of us now?
That's a really
And I was madly in love with his mother, and every reason to be. We get into this rented convertible, go out Sunset Boulevard from the Beverly Hills Hotel. Oh, by the way, on my honeymoon stay the night before, I met Terry Thomas, the English actor. I love that guy.
Yeah.
And he said, do you realize some ridiculous executive in Hollywood wanted me to close the space in my teeth? My God, I make a living. We were in the pool together like two old men. So we drive out to Sunset Boulevard, make a right. We're going to take the slow road along the Pacific to San Francisco, the one they use in Chevy commercials. And it's so beautiful. I'm driving, 3 miles on the Pacific Coast Highway, and a Porsche passes me with Richard Pryor in the shotgun.
Right.
And this accountant-looking guy with gray hair.
Schleiman Feldstein. Hyman Hackam.
He's driving the Porsche.
Right.
So I honked my horn, and he goes, oh, and he had the cutest thing he used to do. Like pull over.
Right.
So I hadn't seen him in a lot of time, So he says, my house is right over there. I said, we're going on a honeymoon. She said, just stop for a little while. But I said, okay. My wife
was thrilled.
Her eyes go to the ceiling. She knows it's going to be delayed honeymoon.
Right.
And he had a shooting accident. Somebody he shot in his nobody got hurt, but he took out a gun or something. He could have a violent temper, I guess. Anyway, I go to his house, Cavassier, cocaine. That's how my honeymoon started.
Right.
And he was absolutely adorable, and that thing showing me around and everything.
Right.
So I always have. I always say he was, if not the best, among the very, very best I ever saw in person. He was amazing talent. I didn't realize till later that he was helped on his material a lot by that guy
Paul Mooney.
Who's not. Is Paul doing well?
Yeah,
he was sick. I know he was sick.
I know he just performed a couple weeks ago.
I didn't realize that until later, but it doesn't take anything away from his great talent and the beautiful show.
So how did you meet your wife?
Oh, okay, sorry.
Wait, sorry, go ahead. How'd you meet your wife?
How'd you meet your wife?
Candide, right?
In Candide. My old director from Second City, Sheldon Patinkin, Mandy Patinkin's cousin.
Right.
He was doing a tremendous production of Leonard Bernstein's Candide and Voltaire's Candide at the Los Angeles Civic Opera, and they had a national tour planned and all that. And he wanted to change one of the four leads, Sir Douglas Campbell, who was a knighted. I replaced him. He was a Canadian actor. He decided that Dr. Pangloss should be a young man. Later on, they did that on Broadway that way with Louis Stadler.
Oh.
In other words, he's an old man. Look at the view. So I joined the company in Los Angeles, did a couple of performances there, and then we went to the Kennedy Center, and I saw this woman.
Gorgeous.
She was beautiful, but she also had a beautiful voice.
Right.
And she also could sing. I prefer Bach and Handel and oratorios to most opera. I mean, crazy about Puccini and Mozart, and she could sing Bach beautifully. And she was just looked in my eyes, I looked in her eyes, and that was it. I was in love.
Now, did Frida and Benjamin approve of the intermarriage?
Yeah. There's not much they could do. I had already proven to be a little different drummer.
Right.
You're a rebel.
To me, I would have happily married a Jewish girl if that was who I was in love with.
So,
as long as she wasn't like religious.
Right.
And her father, his grandfather, Jack Boozer, her name was Boozer, he was a prominent citizen of Atlanta. He was the head of the philosophy and religion department at Emory University.
Wow.
He was a Methodist minister from Alabama who went to war in World War II. He was a chaplain in an intelligence outfit. Henry Kissinger was an 18-year-old soldier in his outfit.
No way.
And they were one of the first to reveal the concentration camps.
Wow.
And it changed his whole life. He became a Holocaust scholar. Wow. So they were happy to have a Jew boy in the family. My parents loved Brenda. There was no problem that way.
I love her. I mean, those pictures. She's
well, where were you when I needed you for a nice threesome?
Yeah. Your son is here. God damn it.
We're all grown up.
So you hosted the third ever Saturday Night Live.
Fifth.
They said it on the documentary. They say third, but it's the fifth.
Fuck.
Billy Crystal made a mistake by two. He said, I think he did the third. George Carlin did the first, and I know Rob Reiner did the fourth. I did the fifth.
And what was the whole
Maybe Lily did the second or third.
What was that like? I mean you're in the ground. Do you know that you're in the ground floor of something ridiculously huge?
Absolutely not. Nobody thought it would be 41 years. In fact, people were so nervous on that show. First of all, I knew the kids, Belushi, Aykroyd, Gilda, Jane Curtin. I had met. They had all come to see me at the O'Keefe Center in Toronto when I played this huge theater, and I stayed up all night with. That's where I met Marty Short, and Marty was the entertainment in Nebraska this year. We were incredible partying all night. Belushi and Aykroyd lived on a shelf in an after-hours bar. They had like a shelf for a bed. And anyway, I was going to be the host. I was already too far in show business to be one of the kids, you know.
Right.
So and everyone was so nervous because it was live. No one had done live television.
Right, and you've been doing live.
Well, but nobody had done live television in that building since Howdy Doody in 1953.
Right.
So, I mean, the nervousness was so palpable that maybe on the second show of the series, or third, there was gray screen on NBC for 40 seconds on network. I told Lorne after the experience, I said, you know what? Lorne Michaels. He used to hang around Jack's office, a little shy kid from Canada. Whap, whap, whap. I said, you can't do this live, man. You got to take it to make sure. So I get that with Ruan.
Saturday night taped.
Did they do a rehearsal like they do now? You know how
Absolutely. And I mean, and then when I did it, I probably could have done it 4 or 5 times. I had a movie, always something, you know. Then I think Jack Rollins had a beef with Lauren. But I did it twice. In '77, when I did it, I was the customer in the first cheeseburger.
That's my next question.
You were.
Sorry. You're
we
in
could
that.
hardly get through rehearsal. It was so funny.
Yeah, okay, that's the question I wanted to ask.
Because what they discovered is, as he yelled it each time, the idiot that Billy played. Billy wasn't in the first season, you know. Probably has the best career of all of them, right?
Yeah.
He keeps on putting them on. Cheeseburger. It was just... And also, there's one that never saw the light of day with Gilda. Remember years ago, they used to have a yogurt commercial.
Is this the Sam Peckinpah one?
No. No. I had to smack her, and I was a leading man, and Belushi played Peckinpah, and he kept on saying, good, but and he smacks her.
So
No, this was the yogurt commercial.
Right.
Cynthia Fatsova, you know, an old Russian woman with a babushka, has lived 102 years because she eats down in yogurt.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
so we're rehearsing, and Gilda can't find her mouth. When I crack up, you know, when I used to crack up on stage with Fred Willard, you know, he would say, "You're easily amused, sir." Oh my God, it made me laugh still. But we couldn't get through rehearsal, and it was they didn't use it, but I would say that
that's so fucking funny.
Oh, that's my phone, I think.
That's your stupid car service that you decided had to come now, but you're not leaving. Sorry.
I'm not leaving. I'm having too good a time.
See, I told you.
I'm sorry.
Richard, next time you listen to me.
Probably is a car service. I'm not ready yet. I know you're here. Whatever. I don't know.
You're such a Jew. I'm not here. That was literally for the listeners. He literally said that, swiped the phone on, said, I'm not ready. I know you're here, and then hung up. Okay. Okay.
But it was probably one of those fake calls anyway. The recorded ones. Hello, this is Lorraine. Hi. Hello, what?
Yeah.
This is about your credit card. You know.
You've been chosen for a hearing aid. No, they know how old you are.
Yeah.
By the way, you talked about being on. You've done fair amount of acting, and I've told Len, who's been doing this for years, and Allie here, who's been doing it a short time.
Yes.
That any comedian would be a sucker not to get some experience in acting, maybe take a seat. He's going to be starting. He did have improvisation class for a couple of years.
I started taking acting class in college, and then I continued and continued. You have to learn how to listen on stage.
You'd be great to be a star of an idiosyncratic series.
I love you. I've been trying for fucking ever.
Well, you've made a living. You raise kids and everything. So
yes,
that's a tremendous accomplishment.
Thank you, Robert. So, all right. So you're doing. So would you say what would you say was the, oh my God, I'm a huge star? Like what year, like when did you go, oh my God, I'm a national treasure?
Performing, sitting next to the President of the United States on the White House lawn. Carter.
So
and
like
we got a standing ovation.
76 to 80, yeah.
Playing our song was a hit, 78,
with Lucy Arnaz. Oh, I'm playing a song.
So we did it. The Supreme Court was there, a lot of the Congress. My parents sat at the table.
Oh, my God, they must have been.
And we had a standing ovation.
Fetching.
All right,
and
Brenda.
Carter ran up on the stage to see what a standing ovation looked like.
Wait, what did Brenda and Frida say? I mean, Benjamin and Frida say.
Oh, there's a picture of Brenda and me. She was so beautiful there. I was so handsome. We were a beautiful couple.
You were really hot.
Well, we were the, it's in that
Like
documentary.
Allie. Allie's good looking.
By the way, the documentary is called Robert Klein Still Can't Stop His Leg, and it's on Stars and the Stars app.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's so great. It's so great.
Marshall Fine did a wonderful job.
Okay,
That was
so-
big. My first Broadway, real starring role.
Right.
And they're playing a song which was a gigantic hit, so that everybody in show business came. One time after a matinee, I always had visitors because I'm from New York, so everyone I ever knew came to say hello. All right, no one's here. I have to go and eat at Sardi's with the gang, and I'll be back for the evening performance. Hello. Katharine Hepburn comes backstage.
Wow.
With a canvas thing slung over her like a very old Bennington sophomore.
Right.
And she said, and she had never seen me before. I remind her of Bogey. I said, you never saw me on The Tonight Show? I was on a lot. She said, oh, no, I go to sleep so early. And she loved it. Ginger Rogers.
What do you think Katharine Hepburn was a lesbian?
I don't know from what she could have gone both ways.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Most women can. Don't you think?
I'd like to think so.
We avoid labels. We don't like labels.
Women
No
are
labels.
Women are more evolved.
I'm cisgender.
She was just a human being.
Women, it's not that big a deal.
All
For
right,
men,
who
it's-
else? Katharine Hepburn. Who else?
Well, Ginger Rogers, and I had a little suite of 2 or 3 rooms.
Right.
And she's walking down the hall. I said, Miss Rogers, and she turns, and she was already, like hot old, like a male 60 or whatever. And I said, please, Miss Rogers, one more dance. And she comes dancing back and
No
twirls
way.
me
Oh, my
around. Robert Wagner and
Natalie Wood.
Gorgeous Natalie Wood. Endless. I mean, everybody came back. And,
How long was that run?
Well, I think the whole thing ran 3 years. I stayed. We did it 7 weeks in L.A. or so. I did it a year in L.A. I was nominated for a Tony. I didn't win, and I just was going crazy enough for it.
Did you think you were going to win?
No, it was Sweeney Todd, Len
Oh
Cariou.
yeah, Len Cariou dead. So he
died?
Didn't he? Oh no, he's not dead.
No, he's not dead.
He's not dead.
Sorry,
I'm thinking
Len.
of Sorry, Leonard.
He's occasionally seen at the Friars Club.
Yes. Now the Friars has changed a lot. Like, what was it like?
I never was interested. I thought it was old-fashioned. So they
Right.
told me, look, young people, Billy Murray, people are joining
Right.
Billy Murray.
That's
And
what they still
it's
say.
a secret that, we celebrities don't pay, the dues.
Right.
You heard it here first, folks.
It's just not really a show business club. I'm not crazy about the roast to begin with. So look who they're roasting in the big hotel ballroom this year. The kid, what is that? What's his name?
Who is it?
Gary Busey.
Gary Busey. Come on.
It's like, come on, get comics doing comics
Yeah.
or singers or
They don't know how to be current.
They don't. It's
bad.
beyond ridiculous.
You
Okay.
know what I love about the Friars Club? The food.
Yeah.
I go there occasionally for lunch,
Yeah.
occasionally for dinner.
Robert,
It's
I
kind
would
of
love
Jew
to meet
food.
you there.
Jew food.
Oh.
Hit the thing. I mean, those rolls.
I thought you were telling me to shut up.
Those rolls, or even the chow mein.
Oh, wait, they have those olive roll.
Yep, those rolls with olive.
Yeah.
And
the
then I
olive
took
bread.
Swoosie Kurtz there. I was in Sisters with her.
Right.
And I took her there a year and a half, 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And there's Jimmy Fallon. And I was booked on his show to do a
Right.
show. I hadn't even ever met him.
Right.
And Jimmy Fallon's chicken chow mein. And it was that kind of Jewish chow mein from the mountains.
Oh, yeah. That tastes like.
I thought you were going to tell the story about meeting him and partying all night, not the chow mein.
The chow mein begins the story.
Oh, sorry.
And it ends with Swoosie and me.
Sorry.
All of his writers.
Yeah.
VP Alley.
He gave them memberships and he bought them a party. And we partied till 2:30 in the morning.
At the Friars in L.A.?
Upstairs. No.
Oh, all right,
LA
good.
is a different word.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
not even the same organization.
Yeah.
Look, they have a gorgeous building.
I know.
They have a lot of people.
Very unethical things going on.
Well, I
and
heard, the
sordid.
FBI raided them and all that.
Yes,
Yeah.
Allie, they raided them, and then there was a sexual harassment suit, which I can't imagine there being a sexual harassment suit.
Yeah, I know
at
that
the
guy.
Friars Club.
He's of old Jews.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should see the guy they're accusing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like,
Yeah, but
can
they
you
took the
imagine
money from the. Yeah.
some of the poor women, the undersized side of Roger Ailes.
Yeah.
You'd like, it's like National Geographic, if you can imagine.
What do you think of?
I knew he was doing that, by the way, in the Douglas show, because the first time I did Mike Douglas show, he had just been gone a few months as producer, and he was, women regularly would give him. He was a real pig.
He was.
He was brilliant, but he was a pig.
Yeah.
And look at these hypocrites sitting there in the morning, in the outnumbered McCain's daughter and everything, who would have had the job without him. Sitting there with their high heels and the skirt up to here. I remember one of them said, well, I don't want Hillary Clinton to win because Bill Clinton would be in the White House. And if I had a daughter, I certainly would. This is when their boss and everyone at the office
exactly. It's so, I can't, it's, all right. What do you think, I have feelings about this, but what do you think, now the state of comedy right now,
I'd say Connecticut. That's the state.
Really? I would go...
Go ahead. What do you think of the state?
I would say New Jersey. No, but we're now getting blamed. Like you started with the feminist thing, and I have to say I agree with you. I think being a feminist to me is being able to be a woman, and that's equal, and that's enough. Not being a woman who can talk like a guy. That to me,
or being
a
man who is an ally to everyone. That's a feminist.
VP.
I just don't want to leave men out of it. Men
but it's true.
important.
Men are feminists. But I'm just, it's so weird. Like, how did you treat female? Did you even think, oh, she's a woman?
Well,
Phyllis Diller, or
I got asked millions of times throughout my career, less so now, obviously, but why aren't there more women in comedy?
Right.
Well, it's very simple. With exceptions, it's sort of an unwritten rule that it's not quite feminine.
It isn't feminine.
And all of the comedians were self-deprecating.
Right.
I just showed Allie a few vintage things from Culture, the people that released my box set a long time ago. Toady Fields.
I've never seen her before.
I love Toady.
I love her too.
Her granddaughter teaches a spinning class.
Oh, get out.
Yeah.
That was the first time I'd ever seen
her granddaughter went to Juilliard. She teaches my spinning class.
What was her main thing?
I want to go to your spinning class with you.
No, it's not mine. She teaches it.
I'm saying I want to go to it with you.
Go. Okay.
Thank you.
Date.
She's
a Jew. Toady.
But
what?
she was kind of,
really funny.
No.
Oh my God, she was fucking.
Do you know about Pearl Williams or the
Belle Barth?
Belle Barth.
Barth. Frances Faye. Did you ever go see Frances Faye in Vegas?
No. Was she like that too? Like
she was
profane
Danny Kaye's cousin, but she used to.
Really? I didn't know that.
She did a lot of musical theater.
Yeah, and she would rip people apart.
What do all these comedians have in common? Phyllis Diller. Joan, Toady Fields, all physically self-deprecating.
Right. Sophie Tucker.
Mm-hmm. Years ago, Fanny Bryce, cross-eyed, funny voice.
Oh. Mom's Mabley.
Yes, very. By the way, I did Whoopi's documentary, and it made me research her. What an extraordinary woman!
How about how she hung out with the Kennedys and she was good friends with Jackie
excellent
O.
businessman, gay woman.
Right. Well, we are the best.
Saved her money and had a prosperous. Had a house and it's not so much true anymore. On the other hand. What's her name? The kid Amy Schumer. Which she's also doing it in a strange way. She's cute enough, but it's still self-deprecating. But the whole feminist thing. Allie's mother, Brenda Boozer, was formed a women's group. They called it consciousness raising.
Right.
And they go each one's house once a month or maybe twice a month. And I was very taken with it because, for example, get ready for your bell. In my neighborhood, my parents were not observant Jews, but boys had a bar mitzvah, and my bar mitzvah cost $1,000 in 1955.
That was a lot. Yeah.
My father said it was a wedding without a bride.
Right.
What did Rhoda have? A sweet 16 with 15 of her friends.
Right.
today, even non-observant, the girls get a bat mitzvah.
Right.
And there are as many women doctors.
Right.
And not necessarily Jewish. She's doing the bell tour.
No,
It's her
doctor.
bell. I mean, really.
What are you yelling over there?
There were no women doctors. There were no women lawyers. I went to Yale graduate school. There were no women.
Right.
In the drama school, of course, and the music school, but not in the undergraduate school. So things have changed, but I fear that they are kind of in hold. Some of the videos are disturbing to me. At least these football leagues and all that are realizing something that was held under.
Right.
All police departments are being tutored in domestic violence. And let's face it happens more man on woman than it does. And we're making progress, but there's still there's no women in the government now. Do you know that 17 white men put together this
that fucking healthcare
and
bill.
the word woman doesn't appear in it.
Not once.
Yeah, so we have a long way to go. We have a long way to go in racial relations too, but young women now.
I mean, do you think if Hillary Clinton was a man, she would have won?
Yes.
Probably.
I think so.
Yes.
Oh, I think that had a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
First of all, there was a 35-year campaign of vile stuff about it. She's no worse than any of the male politicians.
No.
Her husband's a real schmuck.
Yeah.
I mean, I am pissed at him. I really am.
Yeah.
You know, I don't believe a word he says.
I am pissed
skillful
at him too. Right.
Why did she suffer for his infidelity?
Right. Look at Huma and...
but also a lot of men... Yeah, Huma too. But he's beyond. I mean, what do they want from the poor man? If only Anthony Weiner had a better name for satirist.
I know.
Anthony Penis, Anthony Schmuck.
So now, all this stuff now that's going on as far as, like the Kathy Griffin thing and the... the Stephen Colbert. I mean, it's ridiculous. Why are you picking on fucking comics?
Well, they're hypocrites because who's the one that, little Katie Tour at MSNBC.
I love her.
Those 3 women all came of age in this. They had to have security for them.
Yes, because he was like,
the press was under siege physically. He's the one that says, Second Amendment will take care of that. Look, Kathy Griffin, I don't even know her work.
Right.
And it was a stupid thing to do. I don't approve of it. I didn't hear Colbert's joke, so it's a dirty joke about the president.
It was
How many
funny.
dirty jokes did he make?
Right, grabbing the pussy.
Suddenly, yes, you're right. Suddenly on...
That wasn't even a joke.
Not even a joke,
I know.
yeah. That was a
No, that
verb.
was real.
Yeah.
And women came forth. I love that older woman who was so dignified that he kind of put his hand on her lap on a plane.
Right.
And then she didn't move or call the flight attendants. It was sort of like not a terribly indicting thing. But anyway.
How do you feel about the Bill Cosby situation?
Do you know
I think it's a case of he said, she said, she said, she said, she said. Did I get to 60 yet?
Oh my
Did
God!
I get to 60
If you
yet?
don't
And
use
that's a
that, are you
feminist.
gonna use that?
It's already been stolen.
Oh my
I used
Who's
it.
God?
I was doing it
Daily
for months.
News.
The Daily News covers took it from me.
Do you
fucking A.
in the old days when people used to steal a lot, did you call each other up and go, "You fucking asshole"?
It hurt me to see stealing. It happened a lot to Rodney. And Phil Forster, who was interesting. Your audience might better know him as Laverne and Shirley's father.
Yes.
Rodney respected him a lot because, for one thing, he wrote his own material. He was a very funny comedian. He said, "What are you going to do? You back up. You write more. It's like them stealing your kids." The funny story with Rodney. Gabe Kaplan was a notorious joke stealer.
Right.
Really?
Yeah, 'cause
And he steals in Vegas. They don't let him play.
he was still like he was our age, but he was still like a
counts
Bush
the card. They don't let him
joke
in.
stealing guy.
Yeah.
So Rodney heard one of his jokes from him. He said, "Hey, I'll tell you, I'll stop doing my jokes, okay? You do your own jokes, all right?" Okay, Rodney, all right.
That was great.
Wow.
So he sees him a month later at the Improv. He's doing one of his jokes again. Can you imagine? Rodney's in the room. He's doing. And he goes, so Rodney decides to pretend that he's crazy and out of control to really scare him. Goes,
Right.
"I'll tell you, man, I'm going to fucking kill you."
Right.
Okay, Rodney, I won't do it, A couple of months later, he sees him, does one of his jokes again. Well, maybe the same joke.
Right.
She goes, didn't I tell you not to do my joke? He said, oh, you still don't want me to do it?
Ridiculous.
There was a guy doing cruises in Florida who was doing the colonoscopy song.
No.
And selling cassettes of it.
You're lying.
No.
The song?
That's so Robert Klein.
I wrote that song with Bob Stein. It was nominated for a Primetime Emmy Award. And he not only was selling CDs with it on it, claiming he wrote it too.
Wow.
You know what?
We don't have any protection.
We cannot protect it.
Yeah.
I always said Charles Dickens could protect his material better in 1853 in London than a stand-up comedian now. So
yeah, I mean, I did one of my first jokes I ever wrote was, you know, how I had a terrible Passover. I wasn't allowed to attend the Seder. I had a yeast infection, and they didn't let me go. Right? Okay, it's one of my first jokes.
You were too loving.
I'm going to do the Concorde. And someone says, oh, there was a comedian last week who did that same... And I was like, that's one of my first fucking jokes. Like, no!
Yeah. So, you know, I did a narration
Passover.
for a wonderful little documentary called When Comedy Went to School about the Borscht Belt. And in it, Grossinger's niece says, I used to tell other comedians they'd give me a couple of bucks to tell what jokes they did, the other ones did.
No way.
Allie
Alexander Klein,
who's doing his July 1st show at the Metropolitan Room.
You're so proud. You're such a proud. How was he as a father?
Amazing father.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, you're such a.
You made him laugh, Judy, when you said, "Boss, I can't come to work. It's Chach Day."
Oh yeah,
that was my intro.
Right.
I don't remember where I was a little kid and we met somewhere and I saw you perform and I've loved you ever since.
Oh, Allie, I love you.
Ever since.
So, what do you? We unfortunately. No, you said we had till 4 in this room.
They have to come set up.
So fuck them. I have Robert Klein here. Robert Klein. Who else has brought Robert Klein in this building, you
All
motherfuckers?
I care about is in my car. It can take me home.
Oh, God, you're such a Jew.
You're great at this.
What?
You are great at this.
Oh, thank Robert.
This should be a bigger deal.
I know, I wish.
Agreed.
This
you
should be.
Leonard, do you agree?
I agree.
Now,
That's why
Robert, you know you have a little bit of a reputation as curmudgeon-y.
I do?
Yeah. But I get it because you're a Jew.
I don't hang out. No, I never participated much. I'm a bit of a loner, I guess. I have lots of friends, but
yeah, everyone loves you.
I think that you need, and it said it in a documentary. And let me just quote what it was in the post. Where like we for the movie you were talking about this. We had to pick the best archival material we could find to match their praise. Klein says, seeing Seinfeld and others say these things were a little bit like Huckleberry Finn and Tom Sawyer. Hearing my own eulogy and then having to live it, it's a unique experience. But you need to know, and I think Judy and I, we were talking about this, like how much comics, even today,
oh my God,
we
worship.
Just adore you. Like we're your lineage in some ways, like comedically, we're your grandchildren.
Well, can we extend this till 4:30?
And it's extremely important to us that you know how much we love you. You know what I mean?
I'm glad someone was listening because, you know,
when you're on a show, they're like, I mean, I'm not because I know you. And
every year we do the Madeline Kahn ovarian cancer.
But when I was in college, my college roommate, who gave me some questions to ask you, but he had all these comedy albums, and yours was, you know, what we played. Woody Did a Fall Asleep Too. We would play these over and over, and you were on all the time, and we would walk around going, Mr. and Mrs. Capicella, you know, like we would walk around doing that bit.
He invited Rodney and me to his booth at Aqueduct. Good afternoon, racing fans. This is Frank Capicella. The track is fast, the day is clear, and I talk funny. Rough, Timberland in the outside, Rickshaw second, Wilhelmina's baby third, Claptrap fourth, and I'm saying the outside fifth. The clubhouse turned first time, and he's such a nice, unaffected man. He goes home at night. He's the same as usual. Good evening, Mary Capicella. How do you do, Billy Joe? And Tommy Whoa, here comes Mother with the dinner. I want the fruit cocktail first, split pea soup second, roast beef third, mashed potatoes fourth, and the coffee in the outside fifth. Scratch spinach. Scratch spinach was Rodney's addition. So he invited us to his
great.
To his room.
Thank you.
Room. Yeah, you know what? It was funny in the documentary, which I love. They speak all in the past tense because that's the way they were questioned.
Right.
What do you remember? And Seinfeld says he was so potent, and he was and what. And of course, I'm still working.
That's
we show that in the
I
thing.
know.
But it was delightful to me. But it's like Huckleberry Finn and Tom Sawyer hearing my own eulogy, and I'll go with it.
But I'll tell you what, there were a couple of bits that I watched when in the documentary, and there's one when you do the bit. This has to be new because it's the clock when you're crossing the street and the timer's ticking down. Let me tell you something. That is, and we do a lot of comedy in the clubs, and that is as good as anything that's written today. I mean, you could walk into the Comedy Cellar and do that bit and be totally relevant. I mean, it's, you're
so
still there.
relevant.
That bit is really physical too.
Yeah.
It's accompanied by he's got that long stride, almost like he's caught in jail. I mean, it's
Klein,
fantastic.
I always wrote about what's now when I wrote about dating and first I wrote about substitute teaching. I wrote about my childhood, my parents.
Right.
When I got married, I wrote about that. When Brenda got pregnant, when Allie was born, I was 41, and Brenda was 6 years younger. I wrote about that. Hey, there are other people waiting, buddy, on the breast and all kinds of stuff. Yeah. And Lamaze and everything. And then as I got older, what did I write about? Of course, colonoscopies and all that kind of stuff.
Look, I'm writing
So it was
about
always,
that shit.
it was, you write what you know. That's why, certain stuff, even though he's a good comedian, Louis C.K., others, it's generational. A lot of it doesn't come through to me necessarily. By the way, I think he's a hell of a director and actor and writer, for sure. And, it's I don't mind as long as, except for Ginia Belafonte. She's an excellent writer for the Times. And for some strange, perverse reason, they had her review my 6th or 7th HBO special, The Amorous Busboy of Decatur Avenue, which is the name of my book. Yep. And she said, "There's sometimes brilliant, sometimes awful." She said, I was significantly left out of The Aristocrats, which isn't true. I told the magician and Paul, when you get time, I'll do it too. I knew the joke. I didn't mind. And they never got to me. So who cares? I was a safe comedian. Are you kidding? The troubles
Who the fuck is she?
That's the only one that it really bothers me.
Don't review comedy.
Yeah.
Do not review
She never
it.
did again.
It's a sense of humor.
And
that's like reviewing. It's a sense, like the sense of taste.
There are people that have a good eye for it, but it wasn't her field. She didn't know me.
Then
she didn't even stay to the end. I think we had a terrific Latin dance number. But the thing was, maybe a year later, there was a credo printed in the paper like Citizen Kane. We will send expert people in their field to review and this and that. And that was also within a few months of the New York Times in a cover story on the front page stealing one of my lines about the opening of the squirrel hunting season in Louisiana. Some people think squirrels are this. Others think they were rat with good public relations, which is one of my best friends.
That's great.
Robert, we ask everyone on the podcast 2 questions. Oh, did you have something to say?
I had one more.
Go ahead, Leonard.
Can I ask one more?
He has a nice voice, Leonard.
Isn't he great?
It sounds great in this mic.
Talks too much.
I love Leonard.
It's hard to get it in with Judy. I don't know if you know.
How about me?
Shut up. I'm good.
I'm the only one. I talk more than she did here.
Okay, so now after all this time in show business, you career soup to nuts with the documentary and this whole thing. You got to do it all again from the beginning. Everything the same?
Excellent. Leonard,
thank you.
Maybe
I will give you the worst blowjob you ever had.
It's more like a threat.
I probably, the only thing I would have left myself, I would have probably pursued the film career a little more. I've been in over 40 features.
Yeah.
But I did 4 pictures from 69 to 71, good parts. Owl and the Pussycat, a few others.
Oh, yes.
But I also never moved to the West Coast. I wasn't in on the action. I didn't network. Maybe that's the only thing.
Same.
Have some better film roles, more of them, a little more acting. I don't want to. I did 6 Broadway shows. I really don't want to show up 8 times a week anymore.
Right.
So I don't think I would change much, honestly. I have no regrets. I'll tell you, my attitude when early on, I was offered one of the leads in the series MASH. The Wayne Rogers role.
Wow.
Now I had, like every other young actor, I was in California for a while. I was staying there for something, and I went up to see the director about the movie MASH, Altman, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is one of the greatest movies of all time.
Right.
Allie has to see it.
Ready.
And I said, I don't want to do a sitcom based on, that. And it turned out to be a great series, but I just didn't want to. I was hot as a comedian, and I have no regrets about it. I was supposed to be Robin Hood, and When Days Were Rotten.
Right.
Dick Gautier did it. I said to Norman Steinberg, I know that Mel was, it's for kids. It wasn't funny.
Right.
If a feature like Richard Lewis did, that Robin Hood thing was hilarious.
Yeah, that was great.
What's the next question?
And the next question is, what is next? If I give you any project, Showbiz calls and goes, Robert, we'll give you anything you want. We'll give you the money you want.
What would you do?
Movie, film. What do you want to do?
I would do a nice part in a movie. There was some deal I was supposed to do a film in Toronto, and the money is from the Canadian Film Board. They're waiting, whatever. It's a really good part.
Another Sharknado.
Wouldn't you do another?
Sharknado.
You know why I did Sharknado?
Because you're a brilliant.
No, Trump was supposed to do it. Trump had promised in the Sharknado 2, the one they did in New York, that he would do the cameo as the mayor of New York. And that's 5 days before.
He dropped out.
He canceled out, so he called
There
me.
you go.
So,
He's
a flip-flopper, this guy.
Oh, he's such an
Are you still
asshole.
alive? Are you still alive? Did they eat you?
No, they
yet?
killed me in
they killed you in
in
three.
three.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you do a nice TV
like to do
series
another-
with Judith Gold?
If we did it here.
Yes, I'm not moving. Are you
I
fucking
worked with
crazy?
Deborah Messing a couple
I know
of years.
that's right. I love her.
That was so much fun.
Right.
Went across the bridge.
Right.
Went across the
Love
bridge.
her. The
It was called
Mysteries of Laura.
Mysteries of Laura.
She's great.
All right, so here's the 2 questions
This
we
kid's an
asked.
acrobat.
I know.
Go ahead, Judy. Wrap it up.
No.
I'm saying ask the 2 questions. I'm
What?
done.
No, you just said
Wherefore
wrap it
is
up
this
like
not
it's
different
not
from all
Kill
of
Me
them?
Now with Judy Gold.
It is Judy Gold. That's
Lenny
what I mean.
Marcus VP.
I'm
All right.
sorry. I
Okay,
stuck on
number
that.
1, we ask everyone the same questions. 1, are you or have you ever been on any antidepressants?
Yes.
Yes.
Loud and proud.
I take them
Loud
now.
and proud.
I
What do
take
you
a very
take?
minimal dosage of the generic Prozac.
Oh, I do the Paxil, the Wellbutrin.
I'm on Celexa.
Really?
Yeah.
I get the Zoloft.
Ooh.
Leonard?
Nothing. You know
Shut
this.
up. And then,
Lenny likes to go for a run.
yeah.
I go for a
I do
run.
that too. I work out. I don't know. And what pisses you off the most? What in life makes you fucking crazy? Pissed off?
The narcissistic behavior syndrome, which people like the president have, and I
Right.
know other people. That is people who are so involved with themselves
Right.
that they don't understand that they're insensitive and sometimes cruel,
Right.
and all that.
Abusive.
And also history. I'm a history person. A student of history, particularly
Right.
World War I, World War II. People do not know history, and therefore
That is true.
yeah. I mean, the average American doesn't even know that's a triad government.
Right.
How it works.
Checks and balances.
Civics is no longer taught. Living in this country is a privilege.
Yes.
Look at the whole world. How
Yes.
so many people are in trouble, and a mere responsibility like voting and
Right.
caring about what's happening.
Leonard,
Yes.
why don't
ma'am.
you tell Mr. Klein? I've screamed at him. He
Well,
has
I
never
haven't-
voted.
Never voted. And the
He has
reason for
never
that is
voted.
it doesn't. The
I-
vote in
yeah.
New York for president of the United States does not matter.
That
It
is
has never
true.
mattered.
That is a very good advertisement
But
for.
I'm so mad about this particular one. You know, whatever I have to do on
Right,
a
but
low,
there's
low
so
on
many
a
other
lower
people you
level.
vote
Yes,
for.
but local elections are, if not just as important, even more important.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, it's true. The Electoral College is silly, so you know the Democrats win New York and California. But the point is to participate. You see these people in these countries who have never voted before.
Yeah.
When they go out, 90% of them vote.
Yeah.
Well, I'm
'Cause they
getting
can't-
a nice lesson from our government at this point
Yeah,
in time.
you
So.
fucking idiot.
I'm getting in.
I'd also like to go into a ring
Yeah.
with Kim Jong-un. Okay? I feel
I give you
that
50-50 odds on
It
that.
reminds me of Rodney. I'll tell you, even the places I came from, Red Hook, even the names were tough. Red Hook, Canarsie, I'll tell you, I'm far from a fighter, but somehow I feel like I could beat up someone from Pleasantville. I got a new thought after the show. Hey, Pleasantville! I was at the farmer's market there Saturday.
Oh, very.
Got him into the
I got
farmer's
some
market.
fresh eggs.
All right, Patrick. What are you saying?
His car is back.
His car's
okay,
back.
your car's back.
Okay.
First of all, I cannot thank you enough. Second of all, I could talk to you for another 10 hours. You're fascinating.
You're good.
You're so interesting, and you're so smart, and you
No,
have. I mean, you're just the fucking greatest.
Thank you.
If I could say one thing about
Yes.
how, because I'm real proud, I'm incredibly proud of his
it's
career.
so
Oh,
obvious.
It's amazing. But he was never afraid to be smart,
Right.
ever. And I see so many talented. I mean, all I do is see comedy and do. I mean,
Right.
Which is why I can't fill an
But-
arena.
Yeah. So you can say that.
You can
at the,
fill my
at the
arena.
expense of whatever that would be. But he was never afraid to be who he is. And I see so many people that are. So
Agreed.
It's amazing.
I feel that he lifts his audiences up
Oh,
to his own.
yes.
I agree.
You give the audience the benefit of the doubt. You make them smarter. You make them come up to your level, and that's really
Thank
great.
you.
No, you really.
It's
can't.
rare. I mean, it's rare.
I
You
can't
don't see
believe
it
my
that
mother's
often.
dead,
you
and I
don't.
can't call her and tell her you were on my.
Oh my God.
I remember your stuff about your mother
Yeah.
because I wrote about my parents too, and
Yeah.
your stuff about your parents and your mother particularly. Your father died when you were younger?
27. Yeah.
When you were 27.
Yeah.
But you didn't talk about him as much.
I had one joke that was every time my father's exactly like Ed McMahon. Every time I call on the phone and he answers the phone, he's like, "Oh, how are you?" And I'm like, "Oh, everything's all right. I need some money, and I don't feel well. I'm hungry. Here's mommy." But that was my
You ought to end on that big laugh.
Yeah, thank you. Well, ladies, I love you.
Where does this can be heard? Where
This is on Play.Shit,
On
CBS
iTunes,
Play.Shit, on iTunes.
JudyGold.com/podcast.
Right.
Facebook.
Allie, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for
Come ba-
letting me come.
Please. Robert, can I do a follow-up? And you did a good job as a parent.
He did.
He's a great kid.
Yeah.
He worked for Bobby Kennedy's Waterkeeper for 8 years.
There you go.
Nonprofit. Wow. He put in a lot of work and a pretty futile effort.
Yeah.
But he decided to do this, and I'm all for it.
And you're the
I think
best.
He's talented.
I love
Why would
you.
anyone want to follow in his footsteps?
I know. Wah,
Anyway,
wah.
here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening. So long!
And everything was wonderful. I'll see you soon. Thank you for the visit. So long.
Hey, I'm Ryan Reynolds. Recently, I asked Mint Mobile's legal team if big wireless companies are allowed to raise prices due to inflation. They said yes. And then when I asked if raising prices technically violates those onerous 2-year contracts, they said, "What the f*** are you talking about, you insane Hollywood ass?" So to recap, we're cutting the price of Mint Unlimited from $30 a month to just $15 a month. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See details.